let's talk about bankruptcy. This is a topic not a lot of people talk about, but here I am ready to share my story with you. Before we get started, I'd like to say I feel honored to talk about this topic in collaboration with my friend Angel from My Real Life Budget. If you don't know who Angel is, here she is. If you are on your journey to paying off debt and you have not yet met Angel from My Real Life Budget, you should really go meet her. You will not regret it. She has great content. She is on her journey to paying off $120,000 in debt. She will be great motivation for you. She has tons of videos to keep you inspired, motivated, and she would just have you going with her great personality. On her playlist, you will find tons of videos to keep you inspired. She will share with you her grocery hauls and meals on a budget. As her channel says, she will share with you her real life budget. I hope you take the time to go visit her channel and meet her and let her know that Monica from VIDA Happy on a Budget said hello. There she is. Thank you so much, Angel, for inviting me to talk about this subject. There is a lot of people that would like to hear about it, and we don't hear a lot of personal stories on this. So with this being said, I like to mention that I am not advising to do it or not do it. This is just my story, and I'm only sharing my personal story, my personal thoughts on this topic. Back in 2009, I had a home and I lost this home. This home went into foreclosure. If you want to know a little more about this story, you can check out the story that I shared in previous videos, and you'll be able to find out why I lost this home. This home, I lost it due to the fact that I trusted someone I shouldn't. At that point, I didn't manage my finances well. I didn't have enough money to pay for the mortgage. So eventually that home went into foreclosure. I also had some credit cards that I was having a hard time paying for them since I was a single mom, and a lot of those credit cards were used for groceries and bills or just stuff that we needed around the house. It wasn't a lot, but there were credit cards that I was having a hard time paying for them. So when I decided to file bankruptcy was because someone mentioned it to me. At this point, collections were already calling me. Some of them were from the loan that was not covered when the home went into foreclosure, and also from some of the credit cards. I still had my card that I was making payments on, and I was current on those payments. But at the moment that someone mentioned that I could do bankruptcy, I right away thought it was a good idea. Honestly, I was very young. I had no idea what I was doing. I'm not saying this is bad or good. I'm just saying I had no idea what I was doing. All I knew was that there was a family member that in previous years had done bankruptcy, and he was able to buy a home not long after that. So I knew that somehow you can rebuild your credit and all of that. To be honest, I didn't research much into the bankruptcy. I just went ahead and looked for someone who could help me. I ended up getting a lawyer that could help me file bankruptcy. I know you can file it yourself at this point, but honestly, at that point, I just went ahead and looked for a lawyer. I was already with my husband, and he paid for the bankruptcy. I believe they charged me $1,500 at that time. So we just went ahead and did it, and he was okay with it. Like I said, I really didn't know what I was doing. But I can tell you, all I cared about was to just have some relief from all these collection calls that I was getting, from these letters that I was getting. No matter where I went to live, I would get these letters, phone calls, and honestly, I was already very stressed. I didn't know what else to do, and I didn't have money to pay all this. So when I ended up filing bankruptcy, I can tell you, it was a mix of emotions right after that. just like anything in life, there's always pros and cons to everything, and this is not the exception. There is pros and cons when you file bankruptcy also. I know there's a lot of people that are against it, and I know there is a lot of people that just go ahead and recommend bankruptcy. Like I mentioned, this is not to advise you whether to do it or not. I'm just sharing my personal point of view, my personal experience, so that you can assess your situation and decide whether this is the best decision for you or not. A few of the pros and cons to bankruptcy was that right after bankruptcy, I felt relief. When I was alone, I felt so relieved. I could sleep. I didn't feel scared. I wasn't paranoid anymore to open mail or to answer phone calls. The phone calls stopped. And I knew that if I would get one phone call, I could just let them know that I was filing bankruptcy. They give you a number. And but I really do believe they stopped. Like, they almost totally stopped. So when I was alone, I felt very relieved. But when I was in public, I honestly felt ashamed, guiltiness. It was something I don't want to talk about. It was kind of embarrassing. And that is one of the cons about filing bankruptcy. I felt like I didn't know how to manage my finances, and that in a way I was a failure. I had bought this home and I thought I was on my way to being an adult. And honestly, when I filed bankruptcy and I was in public, I just didn't want anybody to know. I felt like I was a failure. I wasn't an adult. I was just playing little games by buying the house, and I just didn't want anyone to know. Before bankruptcy, when I was alone, I felt scared, nervous, paranoid. I couldn't sleep. I always felt so nervous in my stomach, and honestly, that was such a bad feeling. I was not happy. I was just always uncomfortable. But when I was in public, I would kind of forget about it, and I kind of played the role like everything was okay. So that is the difference between being alone and being in public before and after bankruptcy. I share this because these were my true feelings, and I'm being very honest with you because I want you to be aware of the feelings after, and I know how you feel right now if you are thinking about filing bankruptcy. So as I mentioned, a few of the cons is that you feel guilty, you feel shame, and it will stay in your credit for 7 years. They will be able to see it in your credit for 7 years. As I mentioned, someone I knew bought a house not long after bankruptcy, but that doesn't mean they didn't see it on his credit. A few of the pros about bankruptcy is that you can rebuild your credit right away, right after you file bankruptcy. I didn't know this. I didn't do this. Honestly, at that point, I didn't want to deal with anything about credit. I didn't know what to do. We didn't have a lot of internet like we do now. So I just didn't research. But one of the pros is that you can rebuild your credit right away. Once you rebuild your credit, you can buy a house soon after you file bankruptcy. And another one of the pros is that you will be able to sleep at night. Like I mentioned, I had instant relief from all this stress that was just eating me up. It wasn't healthy for me anymore. So that is one of the pros. Another one of the pros, and I really think you should consider this, is that if you're going to file bankruptcy, this might take you on the road to learning how to manage your finances. One of the requirements to file bankruptcy is to do a course online. And I believe right now it might be the same still. I remember I did it. And honestly, that course was very interesting. I had never before seen a course like that. So to me, it really helped me. I think this is one of the benefits about filing bankruptcy, that if you do take it serious and you appreciate the fact that we have this wonderful laws in the US, you can be on your road to success and start fresh. These laws are not to be taken advantage of. These laws are made for you to learn your lesson and be appreciative of those laws. A lot of other countries don't have this bankruptcy for them to do. So if we do have it, I really think that if you end up deciding to file bankruptcy, you should really decide on this and do it responsibly if you end up filing for it. So overall, as I mentioned, everything in life has its pros and cons, and you should assess your own situation. Would I do it again? Yes, I would do it again. If I was in the same situation I was back then, I would do it again. And the difference is that I would probably work on rebuilding my credit right away, because now I know that you can do that. Do I recommend doing bankruptcy? It is your own decision, and I am giving you my point of view from my own story, but I would do it again because at that time I was very stressed, and to me it worked out. I could have fixed my credit sooner, but this is a right in the US. It's not meant to be taken advantage of, but it is to be grateful for it, learn, and it lets you start fresh. So this is something you should consider. If it's a loan that you can pay, at this point in my life, I can tell you, if I only had like $10,000 or $15,000 to file, I wouldn't file it. I would repay that amount of money, even $20,000. Now I know it's doable. We have done it with other debt that we've had. But at that time, I also had the mortgage that they were charging me for. I didn't have about $25,000 plus at that moment. They told me that I could put the credit cards that I had, which I had no idea that I could. Honestly, when I went in there, I was not prepared with all the information about the lenders on the credit cards that I had, because I wasn't planning to put it on my bankruptcy, but the lawyer told me that I could, so I ended up putting it towards my bankruptcy. When I went into the court, it wasn't hard, but it was embarrassing because I didn't know what I was going into. The lawyer had told me that I shouldn't be nervous, that there was a lot more people that owe way more, and a lot of people really do use the system, and these are the people that most likely the judge will deny it or will go after. I was nervous, but I can tell you it went very easy, and even though it was embarrassing, they approved it and I was able to file bankruptcy. Again, if I was back then and I needed to do it, I would do it again. And that is just my personal opinion according to the circumstances that I had at the moment. I hope this video helps you in some way. Again, if you don't know my friend Angel from My Real Life Budgets, please go ahead and go visit her. I will leave you the link on the description box right below, and let her know that you're going from my channel, Vida Happy on a Budget, and that I say hello. Till next time, thank you.